What's up everyone? Time for a new tutorial video. This time we're going to be talking about Helium 10's magnet tool. So if you're curious about how to use magnet, today I'm going to show you how. Same as the last one, check out the description for our promo code for Helium 10. This is going to get you either 50% off the first month or 10% off every month as long as you're signed up. Both are going to save you a lot of money. If you're just curious, the 50% off probably going to be a pretty good move. If you know that you're going to end up using Helium 10 and all the tools that it has, highly recommend. The 10% off option is also going to be excellent for you. We use Helium 10 for pretty much every part of our agency. It's an awesome tool. We were doing Helium 10 before we had a promo deal with them. So that tells you anything about Helium 10. I used it almost immediately when I started my Amazon journey. So pretty interesting that I went from listening to Helium 10 podcasts. Now I'm making my own Helium 10 content. So check out the description for your own promo code. With that, let's get started. So today we're talking about magnet. So it's a tool that you put in one keyword and it'll spit you out a list of a bunch of similar keywords. So last video we talked about Cerebro. If you haven't already, watch that video. It's going to be really helpful. I'm going to reference Cerebro a couple times. So if you haven't watched it, check it out. If you're already familiar with Cerebro, you'll sort of get what I'm talking about. But magnet I love. It's less of a dump. Cerebro also is not this way. But magnet especially is not a take the whole keyword list and dump it, unless you use the sort of filters and things that I'm talking about in my video, or your own sort of filters to get it, relatively lean. I prefer my filters. I've been doing this a while, but whatever you want to do, however you end up using that, totally up to you. But magnet, really powerful. Let's talk about how to use it. So looking back at Popcornopolis's popcorn gourmet popcorn gift, we've got we're taking a look at the detail page itself. So this is really important. I said in my last video, before you do any of this keyword research type stuff, you need to understand your product really, really well to know sort of what kind of keywords are highly relevant, somewhat relevant, or sort of medium level relevancy. You should be able to make those filters or classifications in your brain right away, and then be able to spot things within keywords that you're going to extrapolate on. I'm about to show you what that looks like. So let's go dive into magnet. So let's just start by looking up popcorn. New search. It's not nice to Helium 10's servers, I don't think, to always do new search. I always do new search, so sorry Helium 10 for making your server costs a little bit high, but I like to do new search just because it's the most recent data. You can pull from history, but it doesn't even help you that much. I just like to do new search. So we get 14,148 results. Tons of stuff. Buddha bowl, Christmas gift set, 0 calorie, melted popcorn decorations, butter spray, like just tons of stuff. This is actually really useful that they give you tons of keywords, and I'll show you why. But same as my Cerebro video, number one tip, if you were trying to do some keyword research for your product, like let's say this product, if you just typed in popcorn or holiday popcorn and just exported the list, copied it to your clipboard, and then just dumped it into a campaign, very bad idea. You're going to waste your money. It's not what you should be doing. Do not do that. In fact, I would say if you're starting out keyword research, like if you don't have any existing keyword research or your campaigns aren't really that well set up and you're going to redo everything, do the Cerebro stuff first. You can check that out in this video here. Follow along with what I'm doing. But seriously, do Cerebro first. It's going to give you a more tightly aligned keyword list right off the bat. But magnet, in my mind, is really good for extrapolating a lot of the little trends that you might find in your keywords and just maximizing the stuff that has low ACoS. So you can find this either in your keyword list. So you could be just optimizing, let's say you see a keyword that is at like 10% ACoS in your campaign, it has 3 sales and it's super relevant. Like let's say in this example, we were looking through our campaigns, we saw that cheddar cheese popcorn was something that was really doing well for us. What we can do is just go show phrases that contain. So this show phrases that contain and the exclude phrases that contain, super useful. I do that all the time. I love to use these filters because it really gives you tons of granularity, and like the more tightly aligned you can get your keywords to your product, the better you're gonna do. I think one mistake that sellers make a lot, like in this case, like with popcorn, you might be forgiven in thinking like Christmas gift set, you know, people that are shopping Christmas gift set, they could totally buy, you know, my popcorn, like that makes sense. Before I do that, until you're totally convinced that you've got almost every single relevant keyword mined and in your campaigns with the proper bids, avoid these really broad terms because they can kill your ACOS. Other people are paying attention to this keyword because it has over 55,000 searches. So you're not the only one who's going to be bidding on it. And when you're not the only one who's bidding on a keyword, it's going to be really expensive. So you're either not going to get any traffic or you're going to get more traffic than you need. Rarely do you just dial it in perfect with a giant keyword like this. So in this case, I'd say avoid this high traffic stuff. Let's just try saying show phrases that contain cheese. Oh, really filtered that down. So let's just take a look at snickety blue cheese. Okay, there's Carl cheese snack. So already we're revealing that like there's some stuff like that cheese snack. That's not necessarily popcorn. I would say that you know, almost borders on irrelevant or very low relevance. So I'm gonna say if I said cheese popcorn, it would only show me keywords that contained cheese popcorn in a phrase like that. And it's gonna whittle it down pretty thin, I think. Cheese popcorn, cheese popcorn, cheese popcorn. Blue cheese popcorn, that is not us. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in this exclude blue. I'm gonna apply that. Smart food, that's that bag. I just don't know if that's relevant. So I'm just gonna go put smart in something that I'm gonna get rid of. Let's see if that applies to smart food. Nope, so I'm gonna go smart food. And then I might also add just smart, see if their smart food was created in, yep. So there's both smart space food and smart food. Gotta make sure you're doing this correctly. But we're just gonna keep filtering. So Popcornopolis, cheddar cheese popcorn, that's us. Funny Farm, goat cheese popcorn, Lance hot cheese. I don't know if, let's check out, you can always use this as another cool tool too. Like if you're going through these, goat cheese, not necessarily. So I'm gonna add that to our list of keywords that we're gonna get rid of. And then I don't know what this Lance cheese or Lance hot, I'm gonna see if that is compared to us. Yeah, it looks like it's this other snack food brand, which doesn't necessarily have a presence and seems like a popcorn brand. So you know what? I'm just gonna say we're not necessarily a product that has any heat, so I'm gonna get rid of hot. You could also dump this in Excel and just get rid of those, but doing it with this filter makes it quick. White, that's relevant. Organic, sure. No cheese. I'm gonna get rid of that word no. And then I'm just gonna rinse, lather, and repeat this process. So once we're done, once we've identified like all these keywords that you know were really, really relevant to us, we can just export this and then either put it in its own ad group if that's you know the kind of way that you structure your campaigns, or you could just add it to your existing keyword campaigns. So once we know that we've identified all these really good cheese keywords, we like based off the example that we used earlier of, you know, we saw that there was a keyword that had really good conversions for it. You could just say like, we're gonna dump those in and you have a pretty good chance of actually continuing to get that many conversions, especially if you do this exact match. Amazon likes when you use exact match. You just have a better chance of getting impressions that way, I found. So the more you use exact match, the more precise you get with your keywords. The more you run little processes like this, like what I did right now with the popcorn and the cheese. You could do that for caramel. You could do that for butter. You could do that for gift, for holiday, for a bunch of these little sort of different keyword themes. And each time you do that, you're going to find more and more really good converting keywords. And you're going to be able to do that without having like your automatic campaign find it and then you go through like the search term report or anything like that. This is really going to speed up your keyword discovery process. And then right out the gate, you're going to have a really good ACOS if you're targeting these keywords that are really relevant. The other benefit is if you have a perfectly relevant keyword list, if you put in all the work to make sure it looks good, you do all the steps, and then at the end, none of these really relevant keywords convert at an ACOS that's good, maybe it's time to abandon the product, or maybe it's time to reconsider your ACOS goals. This just takes out a lot of the guesswork when it comes to choosing keywords, and the more time you take eliminating irrelevant stuff using those filters, the better results you're going to get. So off the top, like, don't just do, like, as a conclusion of the tips that I've shared, don't just do a big keyword dump. Make sure to use the show phrases that contain and then do specific themes or things you notice. And then really make sure to double down on the exclude phrases that contain blank filter after you just visually scan all those keywords. Really easy to waste money with poor keywords. Don't want to waste money. It's better to just invest in the good stuff early on. Take the extra 10 seconds to thin instead of paying 10, 20, 100, 500 bucks on keywords that don't work. If you want more tips on how to reduce your ACOS, check out this video. It's our 7 tips to reduce campaign-wide ACOS. Really helpful stuff. You could be saving thousands of dollars just from that video view alone. And with that, happy optimizing, everyone.